'cause it won't be long until you're mine. Sure as I've been waiting for your love.
Alright guys, welcome back to the GSL Code S. I am Wolf and with me is Unstable and we're in Group B.
Group B. A little bit more full than the last group.
Yeah, a little bit more full. We don't have a rain. No one's raining on the Group B parade. So it is going to be first up anypro versus Clide, I believe.
Yep.
And Clide, a player who I personally think is a little lackluster. He gets a lot more credit than he deserves. He's gonna have to prove himself to me here today in the coast. I talked about this a little bit in the Super Tournament. He just didn't really impress me there either, and his results kind of showed that. He just wasn't that impressive to me, and I think that certain other foreign commentators look too much into Clyde.
If you really want to start that. Okay. But anyway, yeah, anypro, no slouch either. He's really been impressed with me recently anyway.
He's improved a lot. There was this time where I looked at anypro and I was just like, oh, same one base Protoss, does all the 4 gates. Yeah, he's good, I guess. Now, or maybe sometimes he does a Stargate all in. now he's shown us he can play in the late game. He took out July in our last Code S season. And here he is. He didn't do as well in the Super Tournament as I expected him to, but he's here now. He's playing against Clide, and they're going to clash here. It's going to be a PvT. The map is going to be Crossfire.
Very interesting map for a PvT, actually.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
The games tend to go one way on this map for TVP. Either the Protoss does a timing attack, or the Terran does a timing attack. Usually, you don't see macro games on this map. It's just not a map that lends itself to macro games.
No, it's not at all.
It's not a bad map. It's just the architecture kind of lends itself to the Terran does a timing attack, it's really strong, or the Protoss knows the Terran's going to do a timing attack and knows he has his vulnerable timing and he hits him. And if you take a Nexus, you're very vulnerable to tanks on the high ground at the top of that cliff, and then bunkers on the low ground. It's very difficult to attack those bunkers because of the tanks on the high ground, stuff like that. And then for the Terran, it's kind of a wide open natural. There's several different attack patterns of the backdoor rocks. The Terran doesn't really want to expand early either.
Yeah, dropships really come into play as well. Once you're on that 2-3 base, you can really jump back and forth between the main and the natural and the third really easily with dropships. It's very frustrating for a Protoss.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, but the bases are pretty spread out. Once you take your natural, the natural itself is kind of far away. The third base is really far away. There's the gold base, but we're going to have a little VCR of these guys' group stages.
저는 둘 다 준비된 게 하나 있는데 한번
오! 한규조!
CS 팀한테 좀 좋은 기억이 많아요.
자, 한기도 선수 조금 전 그 표정은 어떠한 이유입니까?
아유, 왼쪽을 보니까 제대로 되더라고요. 원래는 제가 성준이 형을 뽑으려고 했어요. 우승자님께서 성준이 형을 먹고 싶으시다고.
다른 조는 정말 다 가기 싫었는데 그냥 제 마음을 읽어주신 것 같아가지고 감사드립니다.
오히려 감사하다고 김상철 선수.
제가 슈퍼 토너먼트 말아먹고 아작나고요.
아이고,
되게 의기소침해 있는데 열심히 한번 해보도록 하겠습니다.
네. 자.
Hope they become close Group B. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but from now on we're gonna call this the Hope They Become Close Group B. Maybe the Korean commentators are trying to say hope they become good friends after they destroy each other and battle for Code S and up and down matches and whatnot.
I'm leaning more towards that they're not sure who's going to come out on top. Given all the players in this group, I can't pick one.
Yeah, Ensnare I think he hasn't played as well recently as he has in the past, but he's played weird games. Like, he hasn't played badly. Things have just happened to him. He's gotten a little unlucky, and he's still a strong player, and I think he's got a good chance of advancing today. Of course, remember, guys, the bottom 2 players don't advance, but only the 4th place player goes to up and downs this season. So only the guy who gets 4th is the guy who's in danger of dropping to Code A. So it's not 3rd and 4th as it was in the past, just 4th place today.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But anypro versus Clide first up. Interesting matchup between these two.
But I think we haven't really seen Clide play that much TVP. He almost always ends up playing TVZ.
That's true, actually.
And he plays against Leenock a lot. I think Leenock was actually the guy who took him out in the Super Tournament, so it was kind of an interesting rematch there.
Indeed. So looks like we're going to have a look at the stats pages any second. Here we go. anyproprime.we.
Look at him there, man. That actually looks so different than how anypro normally looks. He looks so cool there. People call him the Simpson Protoss because he looks like a Simpsons character. He's not wearing his glasses there for one, but he just looks so different in that picture. He looks so cool. I'm not saying he doesn't look cool normally. He looks like a Simpsons character. That's what people say about him, but he looks pretty awesome there. He's ranked 9th in Code S, so that's pretty impressive. He's actually done really consistently in Code S ever since he got in it.
Yeah, coming in to the round of 8 in May, also the round knocked out very early in the Super Tournament.
Didn't do well in the Super Tournament. His win rate versus Terran, less than 50%, but those are just his most recent 7 games. Not too telling of that. I think his win rate versus Terran overall is a little bit higher.
Yeah.
He's done pretty well in the past. His PvZ and his PvP are more what he's known for. PvP recently has done a little bit less than stellar in his recent matches, but
it's PvP.
His PvZ is really good. His PvT, not bad. But we don't really know. I mean, Clide, I haven't seen much of his TVP, to be honest, and I don't know how that's going to really match up here. We'll take a look at his win rate versus Protoss in just a minute. But being ranked 9th in Code S is pretty impressive.
Yep.
It's a lot of points there. So, I'm trying to remember who he lost to in the round of 8, but I don't remember. Hold that thought, because here is TSL Clide. Unlike the last TSL player who was a former TSL player, Clide is still in TSL. He's actually got an interesting pose as well. I like these little, how they did the makeup for these poses. It looks really cool. Obviously, Clide ranked 17th, not the best ranking ever in his win rate versus Protoss. There's only 4 games shown there, and that's a 25% win rate. That's not very good. But again,
it's only 4 games. You can't judge someone on their last 4 games. Like, to me personally, if I don't see a spread of about 20 to 30 games, you can't really tell an overall trend for a player.
Yeah.
And the way GSL works, you're not going to get that many matches very often. So we'll see how we go. But there they are.
Yep. Violet, anypro, Clide, and Ensnare. They're the players here in our group.
Of course, we are going to see anypro versus Clide first up. Violet versus Ensnare, Snekin. And then we're going to see the winners play off and the losers play off.
Exactly. The next map is Crossfire. And like there's not much else to say about it. We talked about it already. Usually on this map, you see one or both players do timing attacks. And almost always, whenever the Protoss tries to expand, he loses. And almost always, when the Terran tries to expand, he loses. That happens a lot. That's just how it tends to be here on Crossfire.
Well, I'm sure that comes into their thought process.
Sometimes you see Protoss try to do weird things. Trickster, I believe it was, tried to fast expand to the gold last time he played against a Terran on this map. That didn't work. There are just lots and lots and lots of different things that Protoss has been trying. And then finally, Alicia did a Void Ray all-in, and then it worked. And then someone else did a Void Ray all-in against Moonin in the team league.
That was Squirtle.
Squirtle, right, yeah. I couldn't remember exactly which Protoss it was. And Protoss have just been doing that versus Terrans here because there's those backdoor rocks.
It's very, very strong on this map.
It's very strong, yeah.
In particular.
If you kind of have 2 players going the one-base timing attack, the Protoss timing attack usually hits first. And if your opponent is going for a command center, it's very wide open, still very difficult to hold that expansion. So that's why you see that type of build. And the reason why you don't see Protoss expand is because it's very easy to shell the natural expansion from the top of those cliff with tanks, back them up with bunkers on top of the ramp, or you even have the bunkers on the low ground, the tanks on the high ground, reverse it. It's just very difficult for Zealots to get over there. So that's what you see sometimes.
A lot of times, like in this matchup, you really want those Zealots to be the buffer zone, but you just can't get them anywhere, especially with all the different avenues.
Yeah.
And it's going to play a lot. That's why a lot of people like to do timing attacks on this map.
Melee units on this map in general just don't do well. That's why earlier today we saw Sheth use Mutalisk on this map, because those units do well. You can maneuver them around. Ground units, very difficult to move around. You've got Colossi or Siege tanks on top of those cliffs. It's very difficult to walk around.
And even
Force
then,
fields, everything.
Yeah, as Sheth was saying, he did not want to go Roach Hydra just because of the force fields. It's impossible to do anything because there's so many little choke points. You can just cut you off. And the same thing for PBT as well.
Yeah.
Just cut off those Marine Marauders.
Exactly.
Not many tanks have been used in PBT recently.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes you see timing attacks with them if the Protoss expands, but the countdown is starting. It's Clide versus anypro. The map is Crossfire. I am Wolf, and with me is Unstable. We're in the GSL Code S. Who's going to come out on top of this group here in this first game? Will it be anypro or will it be Clide? Let's find out after this in a minute. After a sick intro. Intro is pretty sick.
Let's see which girls come out this time.
right. Over here at the top right, very strong Protoss. Some say it looks like a Simpsons character. Is on the team Prime. Has done consistently well in Code S every time he's in it. He is.
anypro 프라임 위.
There he is.
He does look significantly different from his actual action shot.
Yeah, I like that shot though.
Yeah.
I'm a huge anypro fan. I'm not gonna lie. I think that he's very creative and does consistently well. Haha. Simpsons character, man. Pride, self-confidence. And then at the bottom, of course, Violet, Clide, and Ensnare, the other members of his group. Down here at the bottom position, we have a Terran who Tastosis loves.
TSL Clide.
I like the second girl better this time too,
We have
man.
to agree.
We have to agree. We both just looked at each other and we were like, yep. Alright, so this probe doing so much harassment that Clide actually has to pull 3 SCVs. There's always a joke that goes around Terran players, how many SCVs does it take to build barracks? StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2 applicable. Much easier to deal with probes in StarCraft 1 though. In StarCraft 2 they kind of have this turning motion. Like Kawhi Rice always, he always told me, it was like, they do this slidey stuff, it's so hard to catch them.
It's like the drones used to be able to do.
Yeah.
And they changed it. But either way, I think we are, like we were discussing before, I think we are going to see some timing attacks from both players. And as you mentioned earlier as well, I think the Protoss one is going to hit a little bit sooner than the Terran.
Yeah. In general, that's how it works. Terran needs a little bit more time to get up the Banshees, get up the tanks, whatever they're particularly interested in using. You know, and we talk about this, and I know there's some of you guys out there going, how does he know this, or why does he think this is always the case? Well, it's just every single game I've ever cast on this map, or every single game I've ever watched on this map in this matchup tends to be this way. There are exceptions, of course, but usually on this map, that's how it goes. But we are going to see a second barracks here from Clide, and normally you see tech, he is 2-raxing here. A little bit unusual, unstable.
It is a little bit unusual. He might be just being defensive in case any kind of early aggression comes through. But that being said, he hasn't really scouted anywhere where normal proxies would be.
Yeah. Well, he's making a reactor. I don't think he's really worried about proxies, because otherwise when you make a reactor, it's like, takes so long to get another unit out. But the interesting thing to note here is, if you go for bio like this, it's so difficult to use when there are enough sentries out on the map.
Yeah.
And this probe spotted. Does get in and see the reactor, but that's about all that probe could see. You know, it's very difficult to use bio on this map. There's another gateway going down for anypro. It looks like he is planning on doing some sort of 3-gate pressure into expand type of build. And if these two builds collide, usually you go into a longer game. So both players just kind of planning on. The thing is, on this map, a lot of times when Terrans have done timing attacks and kill Protoss, it's a more greedy expansion, like a 1-gate expand or a 2-gate expand maybe. No Nexus first type of play. But you don't normally have someone, you know, it's so far on this map, you haven't seen Protosses do really safe expands like this. And he does see the entire army moving out. He's going to back away with that Stalker. 2 sentries are out. 3rd sentry is on the way.
Yeah, it just comes in on those sentries, though. He can completely cut him off. Even on those wider ramps, it only takes 2 or 3 force fields to cut themselves off anyway.
Exactly. And interestingly, anypro is actually holding the middle of the map with that Stalker. Wants to control the Zelnaga watchtowers. This 2-racks pressure could be quite scary. anypro not force fielding immediately. There he goes. Gets it just in time.
On the other hand, Clide could actually choose to try and just contain him on that one base to try and expand after it. He's going to catch this Stalker.
Stalker does, of course, cut off some reinforcements, though. Has been just being very annoying. Does die. But yeah, here's the thing right now for anypro. He's got a lot of sentries out here, but he doesn't have a very sizable army. And if he takes the Nexus now,
it's going to be very risky.
Yeah, Clide can kind of circumvent the ramps. But again, like I said, that bio army just does not work as well here. Clide taking his own...
Both of them expanding, yeah.
Clide taking his own command center now. And it's going to be interesting how this sort of plays out, because you don't normally see this sort of thing happen. Yep. I'm thinking, though, if we see Colossi from anypro, Colossi do really well on this map, but on the other hand,
they can get stuck on that ramp.
Yeah, Vikings do strange things. We saw Colossi get stuck on that ramp last time we cast PvT on this map.
As it was, I believe it was Slayers versus MVP. Didn't make a big change in the game overall, but that could be huge. 2 Colossi is a big difference when you're looking at RP sizes.
It's very true. And these sentries might get caught with concussive cells. Nope. Can't force field your opponent off in that kind of situation.
There was a lot of Stalkers there. You could probably catch them into this thing.
He just doesn't have any with him. Factory finishing up for Clide right now. Robotics and Forge on the way for anypro. Wants to get some upgrades up as he starts taking towards those very important Colossi.
That being said, both these guys actually moving around a lot in the middle of the map, trying to not get caught out of position. I like that they're both being very attentive to that.
Yep, and Clide even has a supply depot to check the backdoor rocks just to be sure. One thing that anypro has not done yet on this map. It was very reminiscent of Blistering Sands to me, just that backdoor rocks, how they work on this map.
Yeah.
Can catch you completely off guard if you're not ready for it.
The difference here is you can actually get back and forth between your natural and your main fairly easily, and there we go, a couple of units being force-fielded off. Just trying to save that sentry.
Yeah, I like that. He did keep that sentry alive. And now, anypro is going to be in a relatively rough spot. He's going to see this coming with the Stalker. He's actually going to lose the sentry, though, and the Zealot en route. Oops.
That Twilight Council is finishing up. Blink could be sometimes effective on this map, depending on where you engage. But if you blink into the wrong spot, you just can't run away.
Exactly. That's why you don't see Blink used all the time on this map. When we saw Shed play earlier today, he actually used a lot of Blink, or Asan used a lot of Blink against him, was very careful about how he did it on this map.
Yep.
Because like you were saying, there's so many avenues where if you blink forward, you can't walk back.
Yep. You don't want to get yourself caught into a position where you just can't run away, and especially with Marauders in that mix, they absolutely tear through Stalkers in the first place. But he does have the Robotics Bay on the way as well now, so we're going to see some Blink Colossi action.
Yeah, we will most likely see that. +1 armor, getting pretty close to being done. Right now for Clide, he doesn't have any upgrades. He's just now started his +1 weapons attack. He does have stim, hasn't stimmed any of his units yet, hasn't had the need to. Now, as I was saying earlier, it's very difficult to take a third base on this map. As you can see, if you look at the minimap, you can see the bases are pretty far away. So neither player is going to want to take that third base for a while. Colossi do very well in these narrow spaces on these ramps, but on the same note, they end up being very vulnerable to Vikings because of just the pathing and how awkwardly the Colossi try to target, and the Vikings can just fly over everything. The Stalkers can't move forward to defend the Colossi a lot of the time.
That's probably the reasoning behind the blink that we're seeing here from anypro. But he really needs to be careful. There we go, 2 force fields completely blocking off that ramp. Oh, nice scan getting rid of that observer.
Yeah, he is going to send 1 dropship around to the left, and it's going to be very difficult for anypro to deal with that. He may send some Stalkers home. He actually doesn't see it, I don't think. This is going to get really bad, I think, when this dropship hits, because if he tries to move all of his units back, he's not going to be able to hold the front here. Okay, so he does force field. Now he's moving his Stalkers back. He sees it. He realizes what's going on, but he's not sending his Stalkers to the right side. And now he's going to let these units at the front.
All of them. He's going to come right down this ramp.
At the front of his natural, here come the units. The Colossi is out, but does he have enough units to keep it alive?
He's actually picked a lot of them up in that dropship going out behind the mineral line here. He's only just cleaned up the drop at the back of his main. He's actually going to lose more units here, going straight into the main with his second dropship.
Great multitasking by anypro, though. He was able to not only force field several times, but split up his attention, defend against a drop in his main, also hold the attack at his front with good force fields. If those force fields had just been a little bit worse, he would have lost the Colossus to the Marauders.
Yeah, we do have a lot of upgrades coming through now for anypro.
Indeed we do. His +2 armor is almost done, as well as his thermal lance. His charge is on the way. He's adding additional gateways here, and he seems to be preparing to take a third base up there in the north. What he doesn't know is that there's a factory sitting there. Right now, supply-wise, anypro 3 supply up, 105 to 102. Templar Archives being made. I like this switch here. I think he's trying to scare his opponent into making a lot of Vikings, and then afterwards, of course, is just going to stop making Colossi.
That is the bane of a lot of Terran's late game at the moment versus Protoss, is they don't know which way to go. If they have too many Vikings, they tend to be very, very useless after the couple of Colossus go down. And there we go, we got another engagement here coming in from both sides. We do have these Marauders focusing down that Colossus. It is going to fall. No! Oh my god, is that only like 20 HP? There we go. Goes down, the force field still playing a major role in this engagement, but it looks like he's coming forward. Needs to get through these Zealots, trying to get away. Are they going to? Is there enough energy left? No. Blinking forward straight into these Marauders. And now Clide focusing down the Stalkers. I like his choice.
Yeah, he is going to back away. Clide actually now taking the supply. Losing that Colossus was huge. And on top of that, anypro engaged very iffy. He actually just kind of went back and forth a little bit, didn't actually attack, didn't use all of his DPS. Meanwhile, Clide has taken the gold base. His command center is about to finish at that location. anypro has not yet taken the base of the north. He's just now sending that probe over there. He's going to see that factory. He's going to have to take that out before he can take the gold base.
Yeah, it's going to come down to can he spot this gold base being going down. It is actually morphing into an orbital command, which is interesting to me. Normally, I would have made it into a planetary because as soon as he sees that, he's going to go straight for it and take it everything he can.
I think making the planetary would have been a better option. Making an orbital is okay, though. In this case, after you've already got the supply lead, you've kind of got map control. I like that choice. In this particular scenario, if he had just been a little bit more behind or didn't have as much map control, I would have completely agreed with you. Dropping those extra mules out of the gold base is going to allow him to add a ton of production facilities. In fact, right now he's already got 5 barracks up and running in his main base. Does have a Ghost Academy as well, 3 ghosts in production, and once he gets those ghosts out, he's going to be able to EMP some awesome... he's going to do some awesome EMPs on all of these Protoss units. There's Archons out, there's High Templar, there's Sentries, all of these units very important to anypro right now.
Given the map architecture as well, they will force a lot of these units to clump up. Looks like now we have anypro taking out his back rocks just to defend that 3rd expansion as best he can. That factory still hovering around there, seeing how long it is until that finishes up. A lot of mules now here on the gold base. Hasn't taken the gas just yet, but it looks like Clide playing very well this game.
Yeah, I have to say that mule drop is there at the gold base. Taking the gold base in general was a very smart idea. Do see another pylon being placed at the opposite gold base just to see dropships that are coming. Anything that he can with that pylon. It's great to have pylons around the map for so many different reasons. And with these 2 gateways finishing up, I think that's going to put anypro at about 8 gates total. Trying to look through and count. Yep, it's going to put him at 8 gateways. Right now, he has better upgrades. 1-1 upgrades for Clide. For anypro, he's got 2-1. No upgrades being researched right now, though, so he needs to get on that because Clide is soon to be at 2-2. Dark Shrine going up. I was about to say I'd love to see a Dark Shrine at this point. Look at those High Templar over there at the Zelnaga Watchtower. They actually just moved away, but if they had held that tower, not only would he see the ghosts coming to feedback them, but anything that was coming through, he'd be able to storm them from a safe distance.
Exactly. We are seeing a lot of DTs in use in the last week or so here at the GSL and GFCL.
This is a very late DT, a little bit different than the DTs we've seen earlier today and the DTs used against QXC, of course, in several different matches. Since we've been here...
But still, it's going to play off well. I don't believe there's any turrets in the base here for Clide at the moment. Oh, we do have one at the main.
Yeah, he does have one at his ramp, but even so, it's going to be great to have DTs in the mix. There aren't any Ravens out. He's going to have to use EMPs or scans to deal with those DTs. It's great to have them. Allows you to control the map just a little bit better. Storm is being researched. It's not going to be done in time for this little timing attack for Clide, though.
Yeah, he does have a very marine-heavy force, but at the same time, we do have that Archon in the mix there for anypro, very Zealot-heavy. We just need to be very careful about those Vikings not get picked off. Oh, we do have Storms at the front. Nice EMP. No Storms going off there. He does have one. He doesn't have enough energy, I don't think, at the moment. He feedbacks the dropship instead of throws the Storm down. The Colossus is done. All these Zealots absolutely melting. The Vikings being dropped as well. And that engagement did not go anywhere near the way anypro wanted it to.
He should have dropped the Storms. I'm not entirely sure why he was using all those feedbacks. 1 or 2 of those Templar didn't have enough 2 Storms, so I understood those, but the other ones I just don't understand. But it looks like he will barely clean this up. But again, he's actually at a 20 supply deficit right now, and it's huge because...
Oh, I still hadn't even finished, that's why.
Yeah, he just now got that top left expansion, and yeah, that explains it. I mean, just wasn't quite ready. Wanted to use as many feedbacks as he could, and those feedbacks did end up being somewhat helpful. The scan does catch these DTs. The DTs have been warped in. They're about to run over and try to attack that gold base location and target down the turret most likely. But they have been seen, so Clide is going to prepare appropriately. And he sees the DTs now. Most likely will EMP them.
Before they can run into range of the turret.
It does happen sometimes. Actually scans at the worst possible time though, and both DTs will escape. The missile turret, or rather the observer, does get taken out, as well as this DT.
This whole time that's been going on though, he's actually made another base down at the bottom right hand corner, and anypro wisely choosing to attack the turret itself rather than the worker.
Yep, and a lot of these Units will go down until the scan goes off. Another DT actually trying to target these ghosts. Does get one ghost. Having to use so many scans, this is a great move by anypro. Very cost effective. 1 DT for a mule is a pretty good trade, especially if you get some ghosts in there as well.
Okay, so a planetary fortress now going.
Yeah, he's going to make that one into a planetary, which usually it's the other way around. You make the gold into a planetary, but
He's had it for quite a while now. He's been dropping all his mules there. He's going to mine out very, very quickly. At the same time, anypro himself taking that gold for him. But that pylon's going to be in the way for the mining, I believe.
yeah, just a little bit. Right now, anypro a little bit behind in supply. Clide doesn't have that many Vikings. This one Colossus is going to play a huge role. But remember, the EMP is going to play even a larger role. He does have one Ghost with enough energy for 2 EMPs.
Getting +3 as well for his upgrades.
Yeah, +3 almost done for weapons. And right now, +3 weapons for anypro, or rather +2 weapons about to finish, so that'll put him at even upgrades.
Drop going into the natural here for anypro, but that cannon does spot a units being warped in. He's going to be able to clean it up. DT is being warped in as well. A great unit to actually defend drops, because he has to force to either run away or get a scan. Another stim goes down for these Marauders, getting
In
so
the middle of the
many
map,
kills.
EMPs on High Templar though, they will fall.
Does have a couple left, does enough energy. He had a lot of energy on that one High Templar that did go down. Vikings trying to get as many hits off as they can.
anypro just being so indecisive with his units, not storming when he could be storming, not engaging with his Colossus when he could be. He just spent a lot of time using move command, taking a lot of hits he didn't need to in that battle. Making a few more Archons here just to be safe. He's at the top of this ramp, so it's very difficult for Clide to justify engaging. And again, just more scans going off. Clide using so many scans, but he knows he's ahead in the economy. He knows he has that gold base, so throwing scans down isn't a huge concern of his. He's trying to clear up observers, try to find out exactly what anypro is doing.
He's also about 40 supply up here, but he does not want to engage up that ramp. That is the worst possible thing you can do. That cannon, oh, nice feedback on the Ghost going up there.
Another feedback as well.
I believe that actually missed.
Yeah, missed EMP. And he's going to try to go up the ramp maybe, or at least bait these units down the ramp. And of course it's working. This is not a best idea by anypro to attack down this ramp, but the Archon's doing a lot of damage. Vikings not really helping out. More Archons being morphed here, and it looks like he may just barely crush through the first army. The problem is there's reinforcing units, and this is going to be a really bad spot for anypro after losing his entire army.
Yeah, he did lose a lot of those Archons in there. There's very few units left. These Ghosts are still there. Did he just EMP that?
Yeah, he EMP'd the Archons so many times it just disappeared, man.
DT is being morphed in as well. He's going to be forced to run another scam. He's got the Vikings in the air as well. Going to be a very close engagement. Another EMP to try and reveal those DTs.
Yeah, he was able to reveal those, and again, he's losing a lot of units in this engagement. There are just so many ghosts out for Clide. He's sniping, he's just attacking with them, crushing through the army of anypro. He's now got about twice the supply of anypro. Another command center finishing up for him as well.
He's just slightly taking the lead over and over and over again, and now he's trading armies with him. He does have the economy to keep all his production facilities going, and he's just keeping the pressure here on anypro. He is looking like he's actually going to lose this gold base here, and if he loses this, it's game over. GG.
anypro just playing a little too indecisively. Clyde, though,
Is he starting to impress you
he
yet?
impressed me a little bit.
Take back your comments from before.
I won't take them back until a little bit later. Don't give me that look. I'm on the Clyde bandwagon until he proves himself to me. anypro looking a little bit frustrated after that loss, and his indecisiveness in a few of those battles really came back to bite him. Didn't storm at the right moment. The first battle, he should have tried to bait it a little bit with force fields, wait a little bit longer until storm was done. And then in those later battles, he had storm, but didn't quite use it in time. He had his High Templar at the front. I was like, oh, this is going to be so good. He's going to get some good storms. And he just didn't. And every time he just barely lost the engagement, then reinforced and cleaned it up. And when you battle against a Terran, you have to win every battle decisively, because otherwise, with concussive shells, medevacs, everything else, the Terran army just explodes. Like, if he gets a little bit of an advantage on you, he crushes you. That's just how it works. So you have to make sure you win those battles. You have to have those storms. You have to be ready.
Exactly. So we are going to go into Violet versus Ensnare.
Yeah.
Going to be on Belshire Beach too.
Belshire Beach. Violet, for those of you guys who don't know, is a Zerg player. He's kind of a newer, up-and-coming Code S player. Former Warcraft 3 player.
It's on the team MVP as well.
Yeah.
Have recently seen him in both GSTL matches versus Slayers.
Yeah, he
unfortunately
actually
lost both of those.
Yeah, he's pulled out against Protoss usually, and he is known for his ZVZ. He's got a great win rate against Zergs. So I think that those two things kind of play into something completely unrelated to this match, though. So I'm kind of curious to see how his ZVT is because I haven't quite seen it yet.
Yeah, especially on this map. I don't think we've seen many ZVTs on this map at all.
No, we have. And Snare actually lost in the Super Tournament to Slayer's Min, or maybe it was TSL Revival, but he lost on this map in a crazy game. I definitely recommend checking out those VODs for the Super Tournament because that game was pretty sick. Where there was kind of a base race, and then one command center trying to drop mules and then having to lift every time he gets chased away by the Zerg army. The Zerg isn't really mining. It was a really intense, close game. I just spoiled everything. I was like, go watch that VOD. Let me tell you everything that happened. But if you want to see it for yourself, go watch it.
So hopefully we'll see a repeat of that right here.
Hopefully so. Well, I don't know. I don't think these guys are hoping for it. That was a tense game. I don't even remember who ended up winning that game. I believe it was Ryung. I mean, not Ryung. TSL Revival. It was either him or Min, and I'm pretty sure it was Revival.
Okay, so the winner of this match will go on to play Clide to see who comes out on top in their group.
Yeah.
The loser will go on to play anypro
to
see who stays in Code S and who goes to the up and down match.
Exactly.
And there we go. We got MVP Violet up on the screen now. Kim Tong Hwan, the Zerg player, 63rd. It's very new to the GS.
Yeah, he just got into Code S. He did well in Code A in his first season and took out Keen, his teammate, I believe, to advance. No, he took out Kirix. He knocked Kirix into Code A and advanced into Code S. Keen beat a Protoss, I'm not sure who it was, to advance to Code S. So Keen's in Code S as well. So good day for MVP there on the up and down matches.
Made it to round of 8 and made Code A. And then, of course, came to Code S.
Yep.
Super Tournament, round of 32. So at least he went through his first match 0-2 against Terran, though. Interesting. Of course, it is only 2 matches, but still. We'll see if he can get his first win under his belt here.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to know who those players were, actually, because that means everything. It probably was the same player twice. Could have been an awesome Terran player like Marine King, and you just wouldn't think anything of it. Now, here is OGS and Snare. He actually got his haircut fairly recently. He's been keeping it short. I love talking about the players' faces and portraits and stuff. But seriously, he cut his hair. Pretty intense.
Yeah, so he's Kim Sang-chul. 24th on it. He's been around a long time, and Snare has.
Yeah, yes. He's been around since Open Season 1.
Yep.
He lost to Rainbow in the round of 4. I remember all that stuff way back then. So he's been around since then. He actually has been in the he's been in GSL in general every single time.
Yep.
So
got knocked out in the round of 32 for Make Code S, and also in the Super Tournament. So very recently, not as great results as he won.
But again, like I said earlier, he's played against really good people in those cases. He hasn't just flopped totally. I think he may, we don't know. I can't say that he's definitely good and those were all just flukes. But he's going to have to prove himself here today, but I think he's got a great chance of doing that. You can't just assume just because he's lost a few games recently that he's necessarily just losing his touch. I mean, some players are. Let's be honest. Startail Rainbow, the guy who knocked him out in the round of 4 match I just mentioned, he's losing his touch. Fruit Dealer, he might be losing his touch.
Well, it comes down to either A, they just can't keep up with the skill ceiling that is being further and further higher each time, or they just don't feel it that they want to be a pro gamer anymore.
You have to have the mentality that Nada has. Yes. You have to, every game, every lose, every win, you have to find your mistakes and improve. No matter if you crushed your opponent, if you went like 4-0 in a finals, you just sit down with your team and say, well, how could I have done it better? That's the kind of mentality you have to have. We do see a lot of these players like MC win a lot and then suddenly kind of have a slump period, and it makes you wonder, is there a confidence issue? MMA wins a lot, loses 4-0 in the finals. You have to wonder, is there a confidence issue?
And then gets knocked out of Code A as well on Arian's Day. So it's a very steep learning curve for a lot of players to come through, and you just need to have that determination to make it through. And if you can keep that up, you'll do well.
Definitely is the case. I'm really interested to see how these guys battle it out. Violet is a really, really strong player. I can't wait to see how he performs here in Code S. He's a newer Code S player. And Snare, he's been here for a while, but can he stay in? Let's find out here. The map is Belcher Beach.